From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Board to reconvene. Sorry for the 5-minute delay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Gleason.
Here.
Supervisor Scribner.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here.
Madam Counsel, action taken on items in closed session.
Good afternoon, Chairman Gleason and members of the board. Today, your board heard items numbers 30 through 34 in closed session. No reportable action was taken on any of them, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Counsel. We'll kick off this afternoon's meeting with a review of the consent agenda. All items, the agenda rather, is on the tables as you by the doors as you come into the building. Consent agenda, all items listed with a CA above the item number are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the board or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. So review going through the consent agenda under hearings, Planning and Natural Resources Department, items 3. Planning and Natural Resources Department, again, items 4, 5, and 6. Public Works Department, Admin and Engineering is item 7. Building and Development is items 8 through 11. Under County Admin Office, items 14. Under General Services Division, 15, 16. Under Human Resources Division, item 17 has been withdrawn from the consent agenda and won't be considered today. Items under matters for executive approval, items 18 through 22. So that is what's on the consent agenda. Now we'll open up the public for your comments about this review of this consent agenda. Anything you'd like to pull from the consent agenda, now's your chance. Anybody? No takers? I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board.
Motion on consent.
Second. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved. All ayes.
Outstanding. Brings us to item A, which will be item A, which was continued from this morning's agenda, and that is to, with regard to the airport's proposed dedication of improvements and service agreement with LHCF LLC to operate and maintain the Lost Hills Wonderful Park in Lost Hills for a term of 5 years with a 5-year option to extend effective 25 October 2016. Mr. Strickland.
Good morning, Chairman, or good afternoon, and good morning, Supervisors. Proposed dedication of improvements and service agreement to operate and maintain Lost Hills Wonderful Park in Lost Hills, California. Before you today is the Lost Hills Community Foundation for the proposed service agreement and the park being located on a larger parcel of land dedicated for use by the Department of Airports and approved by the Federal Aviation Administration. The park had many things installed, improvements including but not limited to artificial turf soccer field, recreation building, restrooms, parking lot, and all of it for the benefit of the general public, known as the improvements. The foundation's intention to operate and maintain the improvements in real property at the park in lieu of the Parks Department. And because the park is located in an outlying area, this agreement will save the Parks Department a significant amount of labor resources. The General Services Department reviewed for environmental effects and determined negligible or no expansion of use beyond previously existing. The attached quitclaim deed and agreement have been approved as to content by Airports, General Services, and Parks Department and signed by the Foundation. The attached quitclaim deed and agreement have been approved as to form by the Office of County Counsel. The letter of appreciation acknowledging the generosity of the wonderful company, estimated at over $10 million for this project, has been prepared for the chairman's signature. And therefore, it is recommended that your board make a finding that the project is exempt from further environmental review under Section 15301 of the state CEQA guidelines. 2, accept the quitclaim deed and direct the clerk of the board to record. 3, approve the agreement. And 4, authorize chairman to sign. And 5, authorize the chairman to sign a letter of appreciation.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland.
I'm sorry, you want to go to the public first? My
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Grab a seat. Let's open for public comment.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the board. Melissa Poole with the wonderful company. I just wanted to thank you all for your help with the work we've been able to do in Lost Hills, and particularly the work with the airport to expand the park facilities. It's made a big difference to the folks in that community, and so we're really appreciative of all the work you all have put in, and particularly Supervisor Couch and staff on these issues in Lost Hills. So thank you.
Thank you. Don't go far. If you could just stay right there, that'd be nice. Anybody else from the public? We'll close the public hearing and bring it back for a vote.
I'll move the recommendation.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved, all ayes.
And Supervisor Couch has a presentation.
Oops. It's never right to say oops as you're walking up here with one of these, is it?
You didn't say it in the microphone.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if you have not seen the wonderful Lost Hills Wonderful Park and all the amenities that wonderful company has generously provided to that community, and comparing it to what it was a few short years ago, it is truly an unbelievable transformation that community has undergone, and it's in that spirit that we want to recognize them. So I want to read the recognition and offer that to Melissa and let her say a couple of words. But I also want to thank Mr. Strickland and Mr. LaRue. They worked very, very hard, and they worked together to get this to this point. And the next time you're headed to the coast, please stop and just spend a couple of minutes. You'll drive right by it, and it's truly miraculous what's happened out there. So a certificate of recognition presented to the wonderful company and Lost Hills Community Foundation, and it reads, in recognition of the dedication of Lost Hills Wonderful Park improvements and agreement with the Lost Hills Community Foundation to operate and maintain Lost Hills Wonderful Park, and for exemplary public service and civic contributions to the community and Kern County. It's dated today, October 25th, 2016, signed by all the members of the board. Melissa, I just want to present this to you, and please pass along our sincere thanks and good wishes to Stuart and Linda.
Can I say something, Chairman?
Well, thank you for that, Supervisor Couch and all of the members of the board. I want to echo the sentiments of Supervisor Couch and thank the Parks Director and Airports Director. We've been working on this for a long time, and we're very excited about the opportunity to expand the park facility. So thank you for this. I will take it back to Stuart and Linda Resnick, and thanks.
Appreciate it. I know Supervisor.
Thank you. I would like to say to Melissa, really a sincere thank you for so many things you do in Kern County. You're often in the background. You don't get a lot of public recognition, which you seem fine with, and it tells me you're a perfectly normal person. So really, thank you for all that you do to make wonderful company really meet its potential and capacity here in Kern. Like I said, you're often in the background, but she's, of course, one of our own, UCLA law trained, and back here making things happen. So hats off to you. Congrats on this incredible achievement. I know it involves a lot of folks, but it's always a pleasure and a privilege to see you in action. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Okay, while Supervisor Couch is making his way up here, we will continue on with public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct the staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state and spell your name before making a presentation. Anybody willing? Come on up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Tina Burke, that's spelled B-U-R-K-E, and I'm represented by the 4th District. I watched the video of your meeting this morning, including the public presentation on the proposal to change benefits accrued to the unrepresented members of your workforce. And I'm here to thank you, actually, for your response on this matter. As you indicated in your comments this morning, this issue, which quite frankly blindsided the members of your management team, created great angst and uncertainty, distrust, and a lot of consternation. There were a number of people that were planning to come this afternoon and speak with you. As you indicated, for many years, your management team has partnered with you to face substantial challenges, both budgetary and operational. Your reaction this morning validated our teamwork on those issues. I thank you for taking the time to validate us, to affirm us, and for your recommendations to slow the process down and have it become more transparent and involve the affected employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. We have more for you, but other people, is it about the same topic?
Yes, sir.
Tom, same topic? Okay, please come on up.
Chairman Gleason, members of the board, Tom Van Meter with the Auditor Controller's Office. There was a question raised this morning by the gentleman from the Sheriff's Office of how much this would cost the county. Devin Brown requested this information yesterday. He might have shared it with you this morning. We went through the numbers again just to make sure we got it right, and I wanted to share that today. He asked us to go back to January 2015. There were 23 general fund employees that retired, and the FICA 1, which is the Social Security, FICA 2, which is the Medicare, it came out to a little over $40,000 for those almost 2 years, which comes down to $1,673 per employee, or for the gentleman from the Sheriff's Office, for every year that he worked, it was $55.77. So thinking that it might not be enough to balance the county's budget. A couple of other things I want to bring up. In 2009, it's been acknowledged that there was a vote for the 25% to go into the particular health fund. I voted no on that particular item that day. And then I started talking to other people. And the more that I talked to, the first 10 people I talked to, 9 of them were a no, and 1 of them was a yes. During this last week, as I reached out to other managers, I talked to about 12 other people. 10 of them voted no, and 2 of them voted yes. So on my little survey that I took, it was 19-3. Then I found out with very solid knowledge that there were actually 2 votes. The first time it did not pass, but the CAO at the time was not John Nylon, but the prior CAO wanted this to pass, and there was a second vote. I did not, as best I can recall, I was not asked to vote a second time. I talked to 2 other people, and they were not asked to vote a second time. So I believe there was something very underhanded about that process. So what I'm asking, instead of having the 5 elected officials vote on this, that we get to vote again, first on the 100%. If it doesn't pass, then I would ask that we get to vote a second time on the 25%, because I don't think it really passed a long time ago. And I would ask that you also use the elections office to allow us to conduct a fair vote. The last thing I want to talk about, you mentioned, Supervisor Gleason, that we have a communication problem. And time again, you've said it multiple times, moving forward, we need to do a better job of communicating. On this particular issue, I don't believe it was a communication problem. I think it was something much, much deeper than that. Let me give you some timelines. Last Wednesday, Devin Brown was encouraged to withdraw the item from the board. His written response back to the person that requested it was that any member of the public can always ask for a consent item to be discussed separately. Then last Thursday, he mentioned verbally that he doesn't have to meet with unrepresented employees. Then Devin called me yesterday for the FICA information. He asked me if I received the email regarding the informational meetings. I told him yes, but that I was concerned that not everyone was going to be contacted. I said, if you want, we can provide you all 350 email addresses so that you can contact them directly. He said no, he would send out a second email to department heads. So I'm suggesting once again, this is not a communication problem. This item affects 350 employees, their terms of employment. And I can't believe that the individuals that have been in the position of negotiating with many bargaining units that know the law and that should have respect for their fellow managers simply had this slip from their memory to communicate with employees. After all, there was a department head meeting last week. Nothing was mentioned. There was a strategic initiative meeting. Nothing was mentioned. So again, I don't think this is a communication problem. I think there was a hush-hush thing, and someone wanted this to pass. So what has been done this last week is not only unethical, but is possibly illegal. Not to notify employees about changing their terms of employment is highly unprofessional. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Please don't leave because we have some words for you, for everybody who's speaking. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. I'm the president of the Kern County Sheriff's Command Association, and we represent all lieutenants and commanders within the Sheriff's Department and in the District Attorney's Office. And although we don't represent the chiefs and other members of our Sheriff's Administration, they are members of our association, and when we see issues like this, we do feel compelled to come forward and at least speak up on their behalf. Obviously, you've heard this morning from a speaker, the first speaker today as well. I just want to emphasize again that these employees are county employees with years and years of dedicated, committed service. They deserve the right to communicate and be part of the process. And even though there may not be an obligation or requirement to meet with them, it surely is the right thing to do. I have communicated with Mr. Brown and advised him that I'd be more than happy to be involved in meetings and discussions that take place from this place forward on this particular topic. I want to thank whoever pulled this off the agenda. It was the appropriate thing to do. I also want to thank Supervisor Maggard for his direction this morning and his emphasis on making sure that there is, in fact, a two-way dialogue that takes place regarding this particular subject with the employees. It's the right thing to do. I know there was also a discussion for County Council to look into the legality as well. We're having our attorneys look into it just to make sure that's the case. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the right thing is done. And I do applaud the board for taking the position this morning to make sure that we are on that path. And I'm not going to get into the communication stuff issues. I think those have been well known. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. It was the board that pulled it from the agenda. Mr. Nyland.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good afternoon. As I mentioned earlier this morning, I take full responsibility for every lack of communication, every inability to communicate to our very important employees with regard to this matter. It rests solely on my shoulders, and I take full responsibility. I am glad that the people, some dear friends, come forward and talk about some of the issues because they are important issues, and we need to talk to them, and we're committed to talk to them. And we are committed to making sure that everybody's voice is heard and that your board has an opportunity to hear those voices. We're starting out this process with a couple just informational items. We know that Friday, October 28th and Monday, October 31st, the board chambers will be open from 10 a.m. and at 2 p.m. to just have meetings to discuss what was intended, what was meant. Again, an opportunity to apologize to those that we did not keep informed and to hear exactly what the concerns are. And I mean, we're taking great notes on the concerns so far, but we will listen to all the concerns. Mr. Brown has indicated that he'd be pleased to meet at every department as needed to make sure that every one of the 350 individuals will be contacted. And we will use the 350 emails as well as make sure the department heads are engaged. And I thank Mr. Van Meter for his information and his continued support of trying to make this the right thing. We also appreciate the Command Association coming forward and offering their assistance, and we'll certainly work with them to do just that. Again, it's unfortunate that this happened the way it did. I can tell you that there was no evil intent, no hush-hush intent. I think there was so much excitement about the potential for this to be a very good thing for all the employees that it just overwhelmed the process. But that's no excuse. We need to move forward, and we will do that, and we look forward to meeting with those employees and informing your board of the position points and seeking your direction as we move forward.
Any idea on timelines at all?
I know we're going to meet very quickly on the 28th and the 31st, and we expect that there'll be additional meetings. We don't expect this to conclude, I don't believe, by the end of the year, hopefully. Maybe it can, but we're going to work with the employees, and if it can be later than that, it'll be later than. It'll be dependent upon the needs of our management and confidential employees and your needs. And so right now we have that end of the year kind of general target, but it could roll over into the new year as well.
Thank you, sir. Okay, public presentations is still open. Okay, seeing nothing going on for public presentations, if I can read my agenda. Board member announcements. Seeing nothing there, we'll keep moving down to item 12. Under the County Administrative Office, public hearing to consider the possible election of the County of Kern to become a Groundwater Sustainability Agent for the portions of Kern County Subbasin of the Tulare Lake Groundwater Basin, which have been subject to a notice filed by the West Kern Water District. Alan. Mr. Christensen.
That's good. It's working. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alan Christensen from the CAO's office. This item is a public hearing to receive public comment to consider if the County of Kern should file to become a Groundwater Sustainability Agency, or GSA, for the portions of the Kern County Subbasin which have been subject to notice filed by West Kern Water District. West Kern filed approximately about August 1st with DWR. As we've reported to your board before, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, as it's referred to, allows eligible public agencies to elect to become a GSA for certain groundwater basins. Your board has expressed interest in representing the residents of Kern County in this vital public policy matter. The county, consistent with that policy, the county must file a competing notice with DWR no later than November 1st in the case of West Kern. Upon direction of the Board of Supervisors, staff's prepared to file to become a GSA to meet that deadline. Filing a competing GSA is intended to preserve the county's right to communicate concerns with West Kern prior to officially naming them as the exclusive GSA. Our competing filing would allow for the county to resolve its concerns with West Kern without being rushed by a deadline. The county has met with representatives of West Kern. They've been cooperative in an attempt to address the county's concerns about their GSA filing. County shared written comments with West Kern regarding those concerns, which are very similar to the concerns that we have communicated to Kern River GSA and to a few others that have filed GSA applications. Our plan is to resolve those concerns by way of a written agreement between the county and West Kern. No agreement has been reached yet, but discussions are progressing positively, and we are confident there will be one soon. It is recommended that your board do the following today. First, open the public hearing to consider the county's possible election to become a GSA for the portions of the Kern County Subbasin which have been subject to the filing of West Kern Water District. Second, once public testimony is completed, we recommend you close the public hearing. Third, make a finding that the project is exempt from further CEQA review per sections stated in your report of the state CEQA guidelines. And last, approve and adopt a resolution electing to file a GSA notice for those portions of the Kern County Subbasin that are subject to this hearing. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Seeing none, we'll go to the public for comment. Anybody in the public wishing to make comment on this issue, please come on down. Yes, the public hearing is now open.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Ravi Patel. I'm counsel for the West Kern Water District. The district would like to...
Excuse me for interrupting, Mr. Patel and members of the board. I did not know that you represented the Water District, so I am going to recuse myself. My husband is a partner in the law firm where Mr. Patel works, so I'm recusing myself, and I'm turning this over to Deputy County Counsel Phil Hall to advise your board accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. The district would like to encourage the county to not file a competing GSA at this time for the reasons stated in General Manager Harry Starkey's letter to the county. In particular, unlike many of the other water districts in the county, the West Kern Water District has a popularly elected board, and is thus its governing decisions are subject to the best interests of the residents of the West Kern Water District. The district has engaged in long-term water planning that has resulted in some of the cheapest, best water rates for residential users anywhere in the state. And I believe that any county concerns about the formation of West Kern's GSA can be addressed even after the exclusive formation of West Kern's GSA. As Mr. Christensen pointed out, we have been in ongoing discussions about an agreement between the district and the county, and I am not aware of any terms of such an agreement that would not be able to be implemented after West Kern was named as the exclusive GSA for its area. So for those reasons, the West Kern Water District would like to encourage the county to not file a competing GSA at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patel.
Good afternoon, Chairman Gleason, members of the board. I'm Jerry Livingston. I reside at 903 Bell Avenue, Taft, California. It's been a while since I've done this. I'm actually raising concerns as a citizen on this, and there's a couple of issues that I was concerned about with this particular assertion in County Council's statements made back in April. Specifically, it's the possibility that the GSA may actually impact both the land use and police power of the county. Well, if the county involves itself in the formation of a GSA, then that GSA also has the potential to have the impact on other city, or in this case cities, since the county is involved. In that case, it's the city of Taft and the city of Maricopa, both of which have their own land use planning and have had a really good working relationship with the West Kern Water District, such that I don't think they have a fear of that. I do, on the other hand, wonder what possibility that could have in these negotiations, since the city won't be involved in them. They have not overfiled. So I'm asking you what your position is on the impact in other jurisdictions, land use authority and police power, that is possible through the assertion, at least of the county council, through establishing a GSA. Number one. Number two, it may have just been a confluence of the two events, but on that same day that you talked about this, you also were talking about budget, and there's fees involved in this. As it is now, the GSA that they're looking to form in West Kern will probably largely already be formed out of the studies and things done recently for the urban water management plan, and any actions or involvements of the county other than a base agreement is likely to increase the cost to the citizens of the county in that area by their action. I've never known a government agency, when it gets involved with something, not to increase the costs in these kind of agreements where you've got more than one public agency involved. So I'd really like your thoughts on both of those things. things. I think it's important that the city not, and the citizens not be impacted by increased fees. And so if you make an assertion today that you won't do that, that'd be fine. And at the same time, I still think if the police power is a problem for you folks from a GSA, then you're forming a GSA creates police power problems for any other public entity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll get some answers to you. Stick around if you don't mind.
No problem.
Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anybody else, so we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for comment and consideration. Council, Deputy Council, would you please lead us off by commenting on Mr. Livingston's analysis of influence of police powers within jurisdictions of a popularly elected water district board?
Well, I'm trying to remember what all we discussed back 6 months ago, so bear with me a little bit. First, police powers. There are a lot of police powers that the county has. Some are shared by the city, some are really just the counties. As example, regulation of groundwater ordinances, exportation ordinances, those rely just with the county. They do not cross over to also a city. So there's one aspect that directly is impacted by SGMA on a county police power. Aside from that, general land use planning across the board, be it city and counties, are equally impacted by SGMA. SGMA is going to set a base of how much water is available for you to then plan your land uses from. So does it impact cities? Yes, but this is a basin-wide issue. It's not, you can't divide the basin up into little pockets and say, this pocket doesn't have to concern itself with what's going on in this pocket over here. That's why the GSPs have to be coordinated. So I think that answers the best we can at this stage the two police power questions. On the fees question, I'm not sure of any urban water management plan in the 15 years I've been doing water that is going to meet the requirements of a GSP. Maybe one's out there, but I'm not sure which one that would be. So.
Mr. Christensen, would you care to expand on the costs of the fee structure or offer some speculation as to your experiences and how other GSAs have been developed and how this one's going to be impacted?
I didn't really follow the question all that well, but I think perhaps I know the essence of it. Any costs related to SGMA, the groundwater work related to that, there will be a cost to it. SGMA is a new mandate from the state. There is no getting around that. Our filing, and so there will be fees associated with implementation of that. Proportional shares of a groundwater sustainability plan, staff. I don't think they'd have to hire new employees, but they might have a hydrogeologist. But again, I think those things would exist whether the county filed or not. I don't believe that there will be additional costs because of the county, except for maybe Mr. Patel's time here today. But other than that, I can't see anything that would be added.
So I hear you saying that the GSA will probably, in each instance, incur additional costs in order to manage, but the fact that the county has instituted this is not adding an additional layer of cost. The cost is there whether the county does it or not. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, my understanding as far as costs, too, are that Prop $1 have been allocated. It's an unfunded requirement. You're absolutely right. It's a mandate from the state saying you will behave, you will do this, you will manage your groundwater in this way whatsoever. And as you make your decisions, we're going to be peeking over your shoulder to make sure that you're making them the way we want you to make them, or else we're going to make them for you. And then we're going to make the decisions for you, and then we're going to give you the cost for the decisions that the state made imposed on you. That's the reality of the world we live in. I do know that the state has allocated $500,000 for this basin, $250,000 for this Kern Subbasin, $250,000 for the Indian Wells Valley. I also understand that there's a release of funds by June of next year or December next year, sometime next year, of an additional $1 million. They anticipate $1 million per critically overdrafted basin. at a minimum, and it could more if, depending on how they're performing in terms of the development of their GSA and the GSP. So, Mr. Livingston, I don't know if that answers your questions fully. I anticipate that it does not. However, that's what we know today. Any other comments? Supervisor Couch.
Thank you. Mr. Christensen, the reason, tell me where I'm wrong about this. If we are filing, or you're proposing that we file today because we don't have an agreement yet, we may have had substantive discussions and we may be very close to that, but we just don't have an agreement yet that has been agreed to by the county and by the West Kern Board, those two separate bodies.
Through the chair, Mr. Couch, that's correct.
And upon agreement or adoption of that agreement by both bodies, it would be our intent to withdraw our application, leaving them as the sole GSA.
Through the chair, again, that's correct.
Okay, so, and really our intent and our action today is consistent with the action we took with the Kern River GSA and the Buena Vista GSA. Am I missing any?
Through the chair, Greenfield.
Greenfields as well. Okay, so our intent is not to add fees. Our intent would be to decrease fees. In fact, you might want to take a look at the fees you're going to have to charge and see if you can reduce them. We would be supportive of that. And I don't believe we're going to be adding any costs other than, as you say, the cost of someone to be here to, which, by the way, I'm sure you had to do that, and I appreciate that, to put your comments on the record. Our intent is not to unfortunately for you, Mr. Patel, our intent is not to bring you back here and have you have any more billable hours than you have to. So I don't see any of the comments by anyone that would like to make, so I'll make a motion to approve the staff's recommendation. Thank you, that's it.
Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you. Not hearing any reason not to proceed with the motion, I would second it.
We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved. All ayes.
That brings us to item number 13, public hearing to consider the possible election of the County of Kern to become a Groundwater Sustainability Agency for the portions of Kern County Subbasin of the Tulare Lake Groundwater Basin, which have been subject to a notice filed by the Delano-Earlimart Irrigation District. Mr. Christensen.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, without being overly repetitive, I will say that this hearing is in concept the same, we were trying to accomplish the same thing we did with the previous hearing. Delano-Earlimart Irrigation District has filed to be a GSA. They did that about September 12th. Their deadline, or their 90 days, is December 12th, upon which the DWR could assign them to be the official GSA for their district. So we are having this hearing again to, well, we've had discussions with Delano-Earlimart, again, very positive, and they understand. I've spoke with Dale Brogan, who is the general manager for Delano-Earlimart, and I think we have a very good relationship. The unique thing about this filing is their district straddles two counties, which is kind of odd. So we are filing over the portion of the district that is in Kern County. So again, all the same things apply. We are doing this to preserve our right to have a discussion with Delano-Earlimart before that 90-day period ends. We are positive and optimistic that that will occur. So we would ask that you follow the recommendations, which are to open the public hearing, take public comment, close the public hearing, make a finding that the project is exempt from further CEQA review, and lastly, approve and adopt the resolution to elect to file to be a GSA over the area subject to this hearing. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. Let's open the public hearing and ask people to comment on this issue. Yeah. I don't see any anyone from the public. I have a question for you. This is Delano-Earlimart in my area. This is an irrigation district. This isn't a water district. So could you, in the last place we knew, the last conversation, the water district was a popularly elected board. Talk to me about the irrigation district.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct. West Kern is a popularly elected board, which is different than Delano-Earlimart Irrigation District. I'm going to rely on our consultant, Floor and Core. Is it a landowner?
Landowner.
It's landowner populated, or landowners are members of the board, so it's not popularly elected, so that's the difference there.
Should that have any impact on our vote?
It's good to consider, but I think the point is to have an agreement in place. Each of these two different districts or GSAs will have different issues of concern, probably fewer with West Kern because they are popularly elected, but they both need agreements. At least that's the direction the board's given us, and we want to be consistent.
So the strategy we have with this effort is similar to the strategies we've employed with all of the GSAs to date, West Kern, Kern River, Greenfield, and Buena Vista.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
And that is to overlap, create a situation where we must have a formal conversation, have that agreement, and then once that agreement is achieved, withdraw our application for a GSA so they can move forward with their own GSA and make their own decisions on how they're going to apply these new water regulations on their area, as long as they're consistent with the GSP of the entire basin.
Mr. Chairman, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, I can't make a motion, but I would be looking for someone to make a motion in my stead to approve. Mr. Couch.
I'll move the staff's recommendation, but I think we ought to reiterate that SGMA does not give us a way to talk to each other and preserve our right or our position other than filing over the top of each other like we're doing. It creates a very maybe adversarial situation where one, or can seem that way, where one doesn't really actually exist. And I think this is the case in both of these situations. So that's my motion. Thank you.
Did you have a motion?
Yeah, the motion is to approve the staff's recommendation.
Second.
Motion and second. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved. All ayes.
That brings us to the end, to adjourn to Tuesday, November 1st, 2016 at 9 a.m. I need a motion.
So